Hi, I'm Diane Flynn. I'm the director of the Beinecke Scholarship Program, and I'm here with Angelo Hernandez-Sias, who is a 2019 Beinecke Scholar. Angelo, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Diane. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm from Muskegon, Michigan, and I attended Columbia University. I just graduated from there in spring of 2020, and now I'm in the Master of Fine Arts program at Syracuse University, studying creative writing, specifically fiction.
Fiction. And what kind of focus do you have within fiction? Any special loves you have in writing?
Uh, it's hard to say. It's always a tricky question to answer because I like to write about everything. But I would say I'm really interested in family and in relationships and in sort of trying to, you know, pick through some of the troubles of how we relate to one another.
Okay, thank you.
So it's very broad, but yeah, it's I think it's maybe less common for fiction writers to have a sort of specialty as other sort of scholars.
Okay. Okay. And Angela, can you talk a little bit about some of the things you were doing as an undergraduate that made you a strong candidate for the Beinecke Scholarship?
Sure, yeah. I mean, in undergrad, so I think it probably started with academics. I majored in both creative writing and English and comparative literature. Those are two separate majors at Columbia. And so I was taking fiction workshops. Taking, also took a poetry workshop and creative writing seminars and just trying to focus as much as I could on the work itself. And uh, and outside of class, I looked for opportunities to do independent research or independent projects. So I I applied to, or I did sort of undergraduate fellowship opportunities wherever they were available to do this research to help get the funding to support me through summers to do that kind of project and um, or that kind of work. I think I also worked where I could in sort of teaching or tutoring capacities to grow as a teacher because that's part of um, the ideal. I think is going into grad school. Part of what you want to do is you want to teach. You don't, and it's research and teaching is kind of the goal, right?
Right.
So I think it's important. It was important for me to be practicing at these things early on. And I guess outside of class, more extracurricular, I was really involved in the art scene on campus and going to performances and being just immersed in. I was really into music. I think, a big thing that got me through it was not having everything I did be related to writing or to school. And so my extracurriculars were, I did do the literary magazine senior year, but for the most part, my extracurriculars were like the hip hop club and like the radio station and things that would sort of sustain me outside of the classroom.
Okay. Thank you. Now, can I ask you if you've got any tips or hints for people who are interested in applying to the Beinecke Scholarship? And I know we didn't really talk about this as we were talking about you during this video, but I think students might be curious to hear your thoughts on how you decide what to include in your writing samples or in your artist supplement that you submit with your application, and how you choose your pieces of work and present your pieces of work, if you wouldn't mind sharing some thoughts on that.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, totally. I think the answer to both questions is kind of the same, or it was for me, which was to seek help from my mentors and from my advisors, and and to so that they could help me improve my personal statement, and but also to look over my sample or that sort of thing, right? It's very difficult for me to. At a certain point, you have to trust your gut and go with what you feel strongly about. You want to feel the work is good, but it's also sometimes the way that we gauge our own work is not in accordance with how other people see it, right? And if everybody tells you that this piece is the strongest, then it might be worth considering why that is, or seriously considering that piece as the sample worthy piece. And that's for everybody to decide how to balance those two impulses. But aside from asking for help, I would suggest getting started early, and that is spoken not out of experience so much. So it was. I remember feeling a bit stressed about trying to get everything together in time, and if I could do it again, I think I would reach out earlier to my recommenders and reach out earlier to my mentors, and so that the whole experience could be more. I do think the experience can be pleasurable. You can use it as an opportunity to gain clarity about what your goals are and what your interests are and what you hope for, which is useful even if things don't work out with the fellowship or the scholarship.
Okay. Can I ask, where you say to reach out earlier, and that wasn't necessarily the case for you, how many iterations of writing did you go through in terms of your personal statement, or how many iterations of let me put this together and for my artist supplement and see how it works? Do you remember?
Yeah, for the it's always hard for me to answer like how many drafts something is, because I tend to revise as I'm going. But I think several. I was so. I mean, I think I wrote by hand like what direction I thought I would want to go, kind of just free wrote, and then I had a conversation with a mentor about I was struggling to write it. I was struggling to turn it into something coherent, and so I spoke with her, and she helped me think through some ideas. She gave me some questions to consider, and I reapproached it, tried again, so I typed it out, and then it was extensive revision. I think that's important for any piece of writing that is going to be hopefully good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I was going to say, I think it's good for students to hear that even for someone who is a writer, that you still go through these iterations and the revisions, and then it's never perfect the first time around, that it's part of the process. Because I think sometimes students can be daunted by, I have to write this and I'm not a writer. So it's hard for everybody. So sit down and do it anyway, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah, the first draft is always bad, but that's okay.
Thanks. Angelo, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me today and sharing what your background has been and your experiences with the scholarship. It's really helpful. Thank you.
Anna, thank you so much, Dan.